Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Wednesday, November 5th, 2025 edition of Trading Trends Stock Edition. Some big movers today. Let's get right into it, starting with the intraday and the SPX, and then we'll go into some of these crazy stock movers today, some up, some down. Well, some aforementioned. We will take a look. Here we go. Johnson Controls, that was the aforementioned in the past. Lemonade and Lumentum all had skyrocketing days today. We'll take a look at all those charts, see if there's any setups for us. And then while Trex, Pinterest, and Coupang really stunk up the joint today, we'll take a look at those charts as well. All right, without further ado, let's get right into it. Boopity bop. Hope everyone's having fun. I mentioned a couple of things that we mentioned in the ETF video on Friday and on Monday as well about the SPX. We'll get to that in a second. Tesla added 4%, AMD up 2%, Meta up 1.5%. Stock still continues to be one of the worst looking, not just in mega cap tech, but overall in the market from price volume weighted constituents. Meta's been trading horribly here, up just 8% on the year. Palantir shed 1.5%, still under 190 after their really whipsaw in earnings. That sent it to 220 and then all the way back down. Bitcoin up 3.5%. It teetered. It touched 99K this morning, and then a lot of pro Bitcoin stuff said from the administration today. It is just under 104K is Bitcoin. Ethereum up 7%. That one, both look precarious. I won't lie. Bitcoin, Ethereum, but I'll give those a long leash as they are deserving. So IWM, small caps added 1.5%. Micron, we keep talking about it being one of the really perfect looking stock, and it lifted all the semis today. Micron alone up 9%. Microsoft down 1.5%. Google up 2.5%, and that is your your significant major traded recap. Here's the intraday action on the SPX. It was pretty interesting. You can see all these green bars here. All the buys. We soared to a high right around 1:30 p.m. It got to 681 in SPY, and then as we said, this is a sell the rips environment until about next Friday. I think it was kind of funny. All the vibes were horrible. We're less than 1% away from new all-time highs in SPY, and folks are really super bearish. We told you were going to be in a distribution pattern for about 2 weeks through the end of Friday is what we've been saying, and look at that. You saw it dramatically at 3:30 today. They sold it from 6. Well, we'll even take it back from about lunchtime. From about 2 o'clock, we were at 681, and they sank it underneath VWAP to close it right around 678. As I zoom out, really no surprises here. The one thing I will alert though is Bitcoin is totally a risk-on instrument. When you see it buck the trend as far as it did and touched 200 day, similar to what we had in April, that risk-off behavior can really point to appetite and sentiment in the overall indices. If you remember in April, Bitcoin led, and folks, when they take their gainers, their big winners off the table, you should pay attention, especially when SPX has had a monster year. So I will point that out, but Bitcoin did recover a bit. Still watching that because it looks like there's tremendous overhead above. But as I look here for SPY, nothing has changed. I am still looking for pretty much this distribution phase to end right around the end of next week. I have next Friday or next Monday for a pivot date for us to end this distribution bearish phase and begin our accumulation bullish pattern again, which should take us to about. So first, let me say where we're going to see, where we're very likely to be by next Friday. 674. It's the 21-day exponential moving average. We touched it today. We went below it today. You want this market to still correct through time instead of just price alone. So while I love the entry and the risk reward for an entry at around 674, that is grand. You still do want to let the market zig and zag and correct itself through the end of next week. IMO. That's not a ticker. It stands for, in my opinion. The ties, again, were on October 29th. 690 was the peak there, essentially. I'm rounding. And as I said, it depends, 15 to 18 day cycles. That gets you to that November 13th to 17th date for us to mean revert right here around the 674. And then I do think that'll set you up for a move back to 690 to 695. I think it's kind of hilarious that we touched the 21-day exponential moving average and everyone's freaking out thinking we're going to the hills because RSP is up just 5% year to date. We said this was going to happen on Friday's video. We said the sky is falling. Things are going to think things are atrocious. It literally just happened. So it's pretty comical to me. We'll talk about some trades. I am looking at getting bullish some things, and I'll mention them since this is the stock edition of the show. So let's get into it first. Let's look at the big risers today. There were 3 big risers. Let's see if there's opportunities or if they came too far. The first one, and this was a name that we mentioned a couple of weeks ago on our stock edition, an amazing looking chart. It's Johnson Controls International, up 9% today. They call this a God candle. Wow. It went to 123, proved for a little bit it wasn't ready yet, closed at 121. Still an amazing day. Overbought just by the skin of its teeth, touching 70 RSI. It did have much higher fervor back around Memorial Day when we had 81 RSI, but this company looks absolutely stellar. We were looking at this, as I said, a couple of weeks ago. They are in the building products subsector. They work with, retrofitting building products and systems internationally. They are a $72 billion company. Just an absolutely massive day. I'm assuming this was earnings that happened today. Great looking chart. I personally would not chase it here. It does get a little bit too extended here away from the 200-day moving average. Personally, I would give this about 10 days. I'll tell you where to get bulled up, and I'll tell you where to get bared down. Right here, I would give this an amazing looking candle. It probably does go a little bit higher in the short term, but I'd rather give this one, let the dust settle, and potentially try to enter around 112. And basically a give back of today's gain, see how it settles, especially if there's going to be a little bit of a beta reversal for the next week and a half. Names like this can potentially come in. And also, you've seen it just recently. While it looks like the train has left the station, look at all this energy under 113 for this name. So that's probably another reason why I'm looking for that to settle at that entry. It's also the 21-day exponential moving average and the area of the prior breakout going to its last earnings on July 29th. So just an amazing looking chart. I would give this one, like I said, a little bit time for it the dust to settle, about 10 days, probably coinciding with the end of the SPY bearish distribution phase. And then I would get bulled up in this one around 111. You could probably potentially look at 111, 120 call spreads. But like an absolutely great name is Johnson Controls. No immediate setup for me here. And also don't want to sell calls because it looks like it could go higher in the short term. So for me, no real trade. You could sell the 105 puts, but I'm not really sure how much that's going to pay you in December options. Okay, next one, and this was a real ripper. You got to pay attention. These are some real tail risks going on. Lemonade. And I'm not talking about a little lemonade stand because they don't have candles like that. Look at that. We talk about God candles. Lemonade today up 34%. They did report earnings this morning. The insurance subsector has been a bad place to be for much of the year. But Lemonade, obviously, with their, I'm sure they're leveraging AI and they're much more in the tech tilt as opposed to, Marsh McLennan or Berkshire Hathaway. And they do renters, homeowners, building, car, pet, life insurance, as well as landlord insurance products. This company now is a $4 billion company. They make $500 million of revenue a year. So a nice PE here, up 34%. That's absolutely amazing. I do not want to chase it here. Similar, like I said, these God candles are tough to trade. The high today was 79.67. VWAP was 72. You see where they liked it. You see where it settled. Similar, I want to give this about 2 weeks. And if you can get in around $55, again, where the prior resistance had been, where the moving averages are aligning here, that's where I would rather be. It's an amazing move. That's $20 off. You need a third of the reduction in the company. Will it happen? Not so sure, but I don't want to chase it here. If you don't want to get in at 55, then 62 to 63 if you really want to chase. But I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it up here. And again, just here's a max chart. This Lemonade started during the crazy COVID days of January 2021, and it was $188 or 2x basically from here, a little bit more than 2x. So while I don't think it is over, and look at the fervor here, 73 RSI, the highest in its history on a monthly basis. Yes, there could be more. It looks like this does And especially if I put Fibonacci retracements on here, this looks like it could potentially get to 110, but that's more so for me in the early December story. So a great name. Don't want to chase it here. Let me go back to a 1-year view. And again, high vol on this, you can maybe sell the 50 puts, but again, I don't think they're going to pay you too handsomely. And I don't want to just straight buy calls due to the everything that's happening here. Obviously, you need a hell of a move to retain your gains and even have to build on. So far, again, stock addition a little bit tough to trade sometimes with the huge moves. Here's another one, Lumentum Holdings. I remember this name from quite a ways back. Here's a max chart on this. All-time low for this was October 2015. This used to be a $14 stock. Yes, today it's $234. Let me go back to a 1-year view. A lot of volume in these names is why we're covering them as well, and big moves as well. These guys sell optical and photonic products internationally, so they work with cloud networking and industrial tech. Communications equipment is the name of their game. The ticker is LITE. As I said, this is a $13 billion company on $2 billion revenue, so not a bad valuation. There is more upside, in my opinion, to go from this. And like I said, this is still all-time highs. Look at this. This has had 6 months in a row of being up, similar to the Q, similar to the market. And ever since this breakout here above 105, it's doubled. That's absolutely extraordinary. Let me go back to a 1-year view on LITE. Same thing here. What was the absolute picture perfect high today? 240.5, and then it still held VWAP, which was 228. Bullish for sure, but again, we'll let the dust settle on some of these. We said the same thing also about South Korea. The market was soaring. That's a geographical ETF, lower ATR, average true range. We said, look out. This thing's going to, the chart's telling me this thing's going to drop 7 to 9% the next couple of days. And what happened? Next day down 3.5%. The day after that down 2.5%. So sometimes it gives a little, sometimes it gives a lot, but charts are charts, and that's what the language of finance, in my opinion. So for this one, a little bit too stretched. Give this some time to settle. And I would rather much have an interest entering this at around 180. So yes, it's insane. It's $50 or 25% off. See how these settle. This has really been an extraordinary name. This has been since Easter, above 40 RSI. Talk about a resurrection off the 52-week lows back here from April 4th at $46. And now you're $235. Trees don't grow to the sky. Look how extended it is as well. I typically don't love to buy stocks that are 2x above the 200-day moving average. And right here, it's 102. You are more than 204, which is double. Give this one a little bit of time. I don't think you're going to regret not chasing this one. A much better entry is 180 in a few weeks, 2 weeks. Let's see some of the laggards here. These got their what kicked in today. Let's take a look. First is Trex. Let's see if there's a setup. So this is Trex down a third of the company's value today. Absolutely remarkable. We've seen this more and more. It has to do with positioning. It has to do, look at this. This is building products. So a great trade, just pairs trade in my head. You could go long Johnson, go short Trex. I want to do it right here due to what we just said about Johnson being extended. But these guys, Trex, are also slightly different. They manufacture and sell composite decking and railing products in the United States. They're a $5 billion company off of $1 billion revenue. So not a ton of PE growth. This is an ugly chart. When the market's at all-time highs and this thing peaked last December $80 and you're down more than 50% of the value and you have a 14 RSI, look at all this red, just even from September. Not a fan here. Earnings are confirming the story here as well, which is just continuing to go lower. You really have an amazing vol expansion due to today down 31%. I'm guessing the railings are giving people cancer or something because it takes a hell of a move for this. Way overhead. The 200-day moving average still sliding precipitously is at $59. And the same thing, what we just talked about. I don't like to buy stocks 2x over the 200-day moving average. Kind of similar. You don't want to sell short when something is, you say 50% of the 200-day moving average is a little bit too extended, focusing a little bit too bearish. And you're getting very close to that point with a 200-day worth 59. Half of that's very close to where we are today. It actually went there. The low today was 29.25. They bid it up from there just to show how bad the day was for Trex. VWAP was 32.78, and they closed it under. So this one probably has ugly chart. oof. when I look at these charts, I see strategies, I see dead cat bounces, and so forth. This probably, once they get to $48 over the next 2 to 3 weeks, it's going to be super difficult, and then that will be your sell. Don't turn a trade into an investment. Yeah, I mean, again, this thing was really just towing the line here at $53, and then the low, you would unanimously think, okay, $47 should hold, and it goes to 32. So I do think this enjoys a death cat bounce over the next couple of weeks. Be careful just buying straight calls, because the IV is super, super jacked in this, and you need more than the move just in terms of spot. So you need the implied vol to stay level as well. I would not dip or dance with this until at least it gets not oversold. They're going to want to sell this. This reminds me of Centene back when it was getting its teeth kicked in. United Health, yes, it rebounded later, but right here, an amazing doji. You still couldn't hold VWAP on a volatile day like this. Amazing volume. I'm just not super interested. Yes, it probably does get to 48 in the short term, but due to the nature, it could also go lower. So no trade for this one as well. These are not high quality names. We'll try to move on to stuff that has more enduring, durable trends, which we'll see more so in the weekly recap and the end of year. Let's fast forward to Pinterest. I remember all the craze with Pinterest back during the COVID days, since everyone was home making sourdough bread. It appears AI is eating Pinterest lunch as well. They're having, I think I saw AI customized boards, and folks weren't having it. And I'm sure costs went up as well. This is also kind of a bloated company, and that's $22 billion valuation. But they do make money. They have $4 billion in revenue a year, which is more than many of the companies we just looked at, which is pretty crazy. Here in terms of 200-day moving average, rising. It was doing okay. Typically, I give these a leash. It did not hit a 52-week low today. That's a 23.68. It came very close. It is oversold for the third time this year. So don't love that. Give this time to base. This is stronger than the other names that we were talking about that just got their teeth kicked in. But again, let the dust settle. This probably gets to 32.5 over the next 2 to 3 weeks. If you believe in it, again, the low today was 25.30. So they bid it up from there. This thing was, even closer to the 52-week low, but it held. I don't love buying things that are oversold. At least wait for it to get a 30 registration. It'll probably be somewhere around $27. And then you could start to say, okay, let me sell those 26 puts, or let me start to look at a 29.33 or 32 call spread December. I don't disagree. I think the market will have a good second half of November and December. So I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater for a lot of these names. This is a rising 200-day moving average. I don't love that it's a prior leader in terms of that it peaked on Valentine's Day. So I don't love that when a lot of the momentum has gone, and it was after earnings. They shot it up 19% in February, and I don't think a lot of people were even spelling GBT back then. So the world comes at you fast. And then you can see the lower highs here. That's what's giving me a warning signal. And just really since Labor Day, I think this my count here is just 5 days above 50 RSI. So the demand for this is not super strong, and that is Pinterest. Next one, Coupang, down 6% today. So this is what we're talking about. This is a much better chart. You don't have to live in purgatory like the other ones that absolutely got jarred on a volatile day. If you're not familiar with Coupang, this is an ADR out of South Korea, which has been absolutely just crushing it. These guys are broadline retail. They do operate retail business through mobile applications and internet websites in South Korea and internationally. They are a $58 billion company. So not quite Amazon, but they are very huge for South Korea. This is a way to get exposure, and $32 billion revenue. So I think this is going very likely higher. But today they did report earnings, and estimate was 5 cents. Or I'm sorry, the estimate was 5 cents. They reported 5 cents. It looks like folks wanted a little bit more, and that's where you have that candle down 6%. To be honest, this is exactly a great example of what I'm saying in terms of letting it correct through time instead of just price. In terms of, again, the low today was 29.50. and they took it off that, and this thing held okay, but it did close below VWAP. Still a beautiful rising 200-day moving average, a nosedive in RSI, where typically it is rebounded from outside of the 52-week lows back when this hit $19. Again, the high came on September 18th at $34. Let this one, you know what I'm going to say, unfortunately, and it goes with the overall bearishness in the market. Let this one come in for about 2.5 weeks, similar to the market, a little bit more. And my floor for this is 30. So while you're 1% away from there here, that's okay. But options are, theta bound. You got to be careful or you'll bleed the theta decay. So you don't want to just sit on your options, especially if they're DC expiry. So if this is still in 2 weeks, around 30 handle even, I like it as my target is 33, and that's a 10% gain. 30-33 call spreads December are jumping out to me, and you can tell the chart has been an absolute winner, especially since May 1st. Many times being overbought. I don't think they'll let this one get oversold. I think it was a different era there in April, and also due to South Korea just absolutely ripping it in the past 3 months. Look at how this has been correlated as well. There's definitely worse names you can be in. This is not a very super, it is a dollar ATR average true range. So, it moves about 3% a day. There's some volatility. Like I said, give this a little bit of time. I don't see any, amazing immediate setups in this. Let's go now. There's more durable trends here. Let's go to the top 3 gainers of the past 5 days. And this one I am looking very closely, and I do intend to buy a call spread on this probably in the next couple of days, to be honest. It is Iren. They had a monster deal announced with Microsoft, which solidified a lot of what this company does. Today, new all-time highs. Today was up 15%. It had a monster day when they announced the day with Microsoft as well. Look at the periods of overbought for this. This has been super hot, in the words of Hansel, from May 20th to October 20th. This has spent much of those 5 months overbought, and that's how you get a move from $9 to $70. That's exactly how you get that, because the line to buy is just, the demand outstrips supply. If you're not familiar with Iren, they are a vertically integrated data center company, business in Australia and Canada. They're, in bed now with Microsoft. Do be warned, though, these guys report earnings tomorrow night. That's why I'm especially looking closely at the call spreads. You don't want to be short upside call, get your face ripped off. This thing is definitely a crazy mover. And you don't want to just, be long calls. And then the stock gaps down either due to just how extended it is. Again, I don't like buying stocks more than 2x, pretty good rule of thumb away from the 200-day moving average. 200-day moving average for this is $20. So you're almost 4 times. All that being said, just looking at the chart itself and the vol expansion, it looks like this still wants to get to 80 in the coming days. The catalyst of earnings, it can either help or hurt, but momentum is strong with this one. Markets usually have a good way of sniffing things out, but this could disappoint as well. And look at the RSI on this, above 47 RSI going back to the end of April when the stock was trading $6. That's amazing strength. $6 to $76. Amazing. And another thing, just a bearish divergence. We're at 69 RSI here, and you registered a new all-time high. Don't love that. So while in the short term, it does go probably higher, I think it wants to be magnetized to 80. The high today was 77.24. They just shed it a couple cents underneath that, essentially. And it did hold VWAP 73.65. I will let you know if and when I enter call spreads. What I was looking at, and I have this here in my sheet, was potentially looking at something like an 8100 December. It sounds crazy, but this thing is a rocket ship. Earnings will either make or break that position, though. I don't typically love to trade that binary way. Also, another consideration due to the volatility of this is just straight buying long calls. You can just buy the 80 December calls. Be careful, though. If the thing gaps down, then there's a very strong likelihood that this thing goes down to 60. Your 80 calls look like crapola. So Iren, though, is the leader in the stock market over the past 3 months, though. So you're getting different time frame leadership, all-time high here, and a leader over the past 3 months. So I really do like Iren, and there's been a lot of attractive dollar flows to the data center business here. That is Iren, up 20. I forgot to mention the how much percent it's up in the past 5 days, up 25% in the past 5 days. Of course, 15% coming from the big day today. Next one, I'm taking a closer look at this as well, but I don't think I'm going to elect getting in a call spread for this. This is Cipher Mining. Let's get some stats on this. They're technically in the software business. They do, again, industrial scale data centers in the United States. They were founded in New York in 2021. You don't need to own both of these, but this is where the funds have went in the past 5 days. They flocked to the data centers. This one up 10% today. They reported 2 days ago, so you have that earnings risk out of the way. This is a $9 billion company of $200 million revenue. This looks like it has another bullish, like 5 days or so. It looks like it wants to get to $26. It actually touched 25 half today, and they sold it off. Again, great looking chart. Really, since that breakout above 6 half at the end of August, this thing has really not looked back. So here, a little bit more bullishness. If you really want to do, tactical trading, you can sell the 19 puts and buy the 24 calls, selling the puts to finance the calls. Just be careful. These things move together. So, and they are somewhat extended. Also, new highs today. You do have a 70 RSI, but nowhere near the fervor had back here when it tacked 80 several times. So something to be aware of. And then the next one, that one was, by the way, up 24% over the past 5 days, or an average of 5% today, up 10. You can tell the enthusiasm starts to go away when these candles get smaller. But for right now, they are bidding this thing up. Remember, the day after earnings, these guys were up 22%. So obviously they had great things to say. And the next one, our third leader on the week, is Dupont, up 15%. So not a software data center name, quite a little bit different. This is a chemical company. They have electronics and industrials. We know Dupont. They're a $16 billion company. It was almost like a value trade. They report earnings tomorrow morning, apparently, is what I'm seeing here. Be careful. Here is the chart. They do have a 4% dividend yield. And my chart here is saying they report Thursday, tomorrow morning. That doesn't make a ton of sense of what the heck happened here. That sent the stock down 58%, still oversold. This thing is down, or I'm sorry, it's up 15% from that off the absolute lows 2 days ago, off of $33. And yeah, 33 to 39, $6, and that's how you get that close to 15%. This chart is messy. I don't like really spending a ton of time on this. This is like it'll just sliding lower, turn a moving average. I'm looking at it because the volume. This almost looks like a split or a spin-off in a wrong data. But we'll stick with that with Dupont. Let's get into the top 3 losers of the past 5 days. And there have been several. Number 1, and this is affecting Kathy Wood, Roblox. Roblox down 23% over the past 5 days, or an average of close to 5%. They had atrocious earnings on the 30th. That sent this company down 16%, and that's what we're talking about. You want to let the dust settle. It didn't get oversold after the crappy earnings. It came 3 days later, and they're still combating that now with a sub-30 RSI. And this was a superstar going into the highs. This thing truly peaked on July 31st at 150. You can see it. But similar to Bitcoin in a way, you have a rising trending moving average. It's almost touching it here. What do you do? Though Bitcoin has not gotten oversold. You want to be careful with that. Strong performers typically don't get oversold because there's someone there to support it and bid it up. Bitcoin has not yet. Roblox has. Is that a changing of the guard and a type of growth entertainment name like this? They're Roblox now, the market cap on it is a $73 billion company on $4.5 billion in revenue. They do the whole, they try to do kids games, immersive platform for connection and communication in the U.S. and internationally. And they reported, like I said, a couple of days ago. Let this we may have an opportunity here, actually. Let this one base. I do think this one wants to at least get to 110, but let the dust settle. It seems to be the name of the show this time. And I do think this has a ride to 120 back in the cards. I don't think this is over. You have to be really, really alert that it's still oversold. I want to get that to 30. It'll probably um, align with the spot getting to 110, and at that point it would be better risk to reward. Maybe even takes a couple of days and let SPY get its breath, and then you could do that 110, potentially 120 call spread. But again, so a lot of these are more so, write down, set up alerts, as opposed to, hey, buy this thing tomorrow morning. And again, still around 200-day moving average. The low today was 102. They basically closed it on the low. It was under VWAP. It looks like this one's not done bleeding just yet. Let it base. If you get at 96, I do like your risk reward there, though. You could probably at that point buy the 100 calls and go from there. So Roblox, not an awful looking chart, to be honest. Give it a couple of days. The second one, and we're not going to spend a ton of time on it because we just did it before. Pinterest, the second worst week. Obviously, much of it coming from today's 22% decline, and that's where it is. It really hadn't been doing a ton before that. It was just tugging the line, touching its 200-day moving average, which had steadily been rising, although it peaked back here close to Valentine's Day at $41, and now, as you see. And then let's spend a little bit of time on our third loser of the week, Coreweave, which has been an amazing stock. I typically don't look at things, that trade for less than a year, but this one has a lot of volume, and it was a pretty dramatic week, and it had been a big winner. Coreweave peaked in June here at a crazy $187 a share. And the reason why we're looking at it today is it is down 19%, or an average of 4% a day over the past week. It was down 1.1 today. We get some stats on this, on how big Coreweave is. This is like a day. I remember it used to be a day trader's dream back in the spring. These guys report Monday. They are a $53 billion company. Coreweave is a cloud platform that does scaling, support, and acceleration for Gen AI. They build the infrastructure that supports compute workloads for enterprises. So they're a $53 billion company on $3.5 billion revenue. So they definitely make money here. You know what I'm going to say. Give this a little bit of time. I don't want to purchase it right here. It doesn't look like it's quite done. And I kind of think that earnings on Monday is totally going to be a catalyst. I think this one's going a little bit lower to test that 109 support in the coming days. I'm not super bulled up on this one. So, I almost could sell the 130 calls. I don't, but you have to close it out before Monday. Don't hold it into the earnings report. And in terms of that, like I said, I don't think it'll go under 109. That's potentially a volatility selling play on this. If you could sell those two options I was talking about, you sell the 109 puts and they sell the 130 calls, see what you get. Top three trades of the past 5 days. If you were long Iren, long Cipher, and short Roblox, you're absolutely crushing this market. Top three trades of the past 52 weeks. This one I'm looking at very, very closely. Very closely. It is rhymes with spaghetti. It is Rigetti. Look at these names. So this is important to me. And should be to you as well. The quantum computing stocks have been the story in single stock land of 2025. Make no doubt about it. Go look at your leaders year over year from last election day through today. And this name peaked Rigetti on October 14th, not too far ago, at 3 weeks ago, let's say, at $58. It had a massive decline, essentially, all the way to 35, where we were today. Moving averages are still shooting higher. The 200 moving average is at 17, and this is still more than a 2x, as you can see the price at 38, call it. Excuse me. Rigetti is, quantum computers and superconducting quantum processors. Market cap on these guys is $11 billion. They basically make no money, $8 million in revenue a year. So it's very low. Also pre-revenue, this is a total growth story. I want to align as much as possible with the overall market, which we believe to be going sideways to down till the end of next week. I believe this is setting up, and I love entries here under 40. So hence why I'm looking at my position. I was looking at the 40-50 December call spread. Again, these guys report on Monday night. So I'm looking at this similar to how I would construct an Iren spread because of their earnings as well in the short term. Be careful with earnings, especially with these super high vol companies. This thing had an amazing Michael Jordan type run for 1 month straight. September 16th to October 16th, took the stock from $20 to $55. And we're talking about options, so you can tell how much you can make there. Yeah, I'm just looking at the charts. The charts speak to me. Folks were freaking out because this got to a 50-day moving, a rising 50-day moving average. Some of the things I will say that are just a little bit concerning is the 20-day exponential is starting to go lower, but that's because it's been contained under $44. But again, I'm looking closely at the 40-50 December call spread. Probably is worth it to get in after Monday, just because this is the stock of the year, and there's going to be quite some expectations into what they are going to report on Monday in quantum computing, from competition from Google, things like that. So be very on guard. Again, stock of the year. I can't stress it enough. I'm looking at building a position in this. Okay, so that, oh yeah, I forgot the number. Rigetti up 32.65% over the past year. That's 3,265% in the past year. And if that math doesn't make sense to you, it's because last year the stock was $1.50 and today it is $38. And that's how you get that. Number two, and this is a similar space, you don't need all of these. You need one. It's quantum is in the name. It is D-Wave Quantum. It's your number 2 leader year over year. Be careful with the year over year leaders, just that, because they mean revert and they have to consolidate those massive gains. So it's good to have trades across time frame. Iren is a beast in that it's crushing it, the best in 3 months and the best over one of the best over 12 months. We're going to look at it in the next chart. But right here, QBTS is up 27.70%. Very identical chart with Rigetti. Hence, I said you don't need both. This one's basically same thing at 2x. It's 200-day moving average, which of course is rising. The stats on this: D-Wave is a $10 billion company, also pre-revenue. They report tomorrow morning. Potentially you get a sympathy bid or sell-off. If these guys miss, then maybe it comes in Rigetti as well, and it somewhat homogenizes the volatility move expecting ahead of Monday. Same goes for what I said for Rigetti. I like setups in this under $33. We're at 31.5. My target for this is pretty much $44. Very interesting. I want to see how these guys trade tomorrow morning. Last earnings report was actually pretty inside. It didn't do a ton. It was down 2%. So these names are weird. They're high volatility. Sometimes folks will look for the earnings. Sometimes they don't because they don't have any earnings. And it's a lot of what the setup is and the positioning going into the event. So what I'll look to see here, I didn't enter this. I like Rigetti better, but what I would do here is probably something like a 33.43 call spread, December in this. Okay, and the number 3 name is Iren. I'm looking closely at this, and that is up 740%. So it seems crazy, and I didn't take names out. I would have left more quantum names in there. It's Rigetti, stock of the year, up 3,200%, 3,300 rounding, but who's counting? And then QBTS up 27.70, and then Iren up 740. It seems crazy, just a paltry 740. And that's the setup that we were talking about before in Iren. It's got a little bit more to go, just a couple more days. In my opinion, I think it wants to get magnetized to that 80, and this thing's going to $100 in the, a couple of weeks or a month or so. This thing's a beast. It's trading almost 4 times its 200-day moving average. That typically does not happen. Hence why I opened the show earlier with saying I don't want to chase this, and also bearish divergence here, like I said earlier. All-time highs, and then scratch 70 in the RSI. But a little bit more bullishness in the short term. And again, these guys report earnings tomorrow night, so be on the lookout for all these quantum names reporting, and some of these integrated data center businesses. We will be back on Friday with an ETF wrap-up edition. Peace.